this is Isabel Litzler, and I hope you get to see this video if you're an entrepreneur or you want to be a freelancer as well. So today is really about starting your own activity, whether it's freelancing, having a side business, or being an entrepreneur, which becomes something maybe a bit later. Everyone starts somewhere, and usually it's by starting your own activity as a gig maybe. So anyway, today is really about starting your business in Switzerland. So if that's what you want to do, this video is for you. This live Facebook is for you. If you know people that want to create a business, you can share this video with them or have them come online right now, because I will be answering questions. So this is the time to ask questions live. If you want to have a more private consultation, I do charge for this. This is on my website. You can book on demand, you know, an hour with me on Skype, and then we talk about your particular situation and what you want to do, which most of the time, a lot of the questions are particular questions that take time to actually go into and look at all the different parameters. So this is why it's actually work on my end. I really have to assess everything and give you the proper advice. So I really suggest if you want to go deeper than what you hear today, that you book me via my website. I will post the link in the comments. So without further ado, let's get started. So how to build your business in Switzerland. The first thing I want to mention is that when I started my business, and that's way back in 2015, I wanted to do something for both people who want to build their careers, but also for solopreneurs. Because I find that in this day and age, there's no such thing as permanent employment. And one of the solutions is to actually have your own business. So I really want to insist, my business is not all about job seeking and career. I mean, it's part of it, giving advice on your skills and what jobs are out there in Switzerland. But I also have a whole side of my business that's really about helping entrepreneurs get started, building your business plan, how to set yourself up in Switzerland. So this is not something I advertise every day, but this is also part of what I do. So my business is really two sides, job seekers, I would say more globally, professionals, but also people who want to start a business in Switzerland. So I offer on-demand services and also packages. You're welcome to check this out on my website. So what I want to cover today is the 4 steps, in my view, of business creation. So the first one would be the step-by-step. I'm really a step-by-step type of person. My method on job seeking is built around a step-by-step approach. The second thing is your marketing strategy, which is really important if you're going to have your own activity. Then how to find clients, which is also part of it. And finally, how to register your business. So what do you notice in this presentation so far is that I put registering your business at the very end. Most people, when they want to start an activity in Switzerland, the first thing they ask me is, how do I register? Or, you know, what type of papers do I need, and the permit and all these things, which are important. But in my view, it's not the main thing you need to think about when you start a business. And I'll explain a little bit why. So the first step-by-step, in my view, is to have a solid business idea. And this is something people tend to rush a little bit into. So having a good business idea is very important. A lot of people are doing similar things to you. If you have an idea of selling, I'm giving always the example of selling t-shirts online or selling objects or services. Probably there's someone doing similar things as you in the same parameter. I had someone on my Facebook page who asked me, you know, how do I access the European market with pricing when there's so many products coming from China? This is something to take into account. There's always going to be someone that provides a service or a product cheaper than you. So you need to think about that, your positioning at the very beginning. You know, who are you selling to, what type of thing? And check a little bit what your value would be to differentiate yourself from everybody else. So have a product or a service that's of value. So how do you do this? Well, it's to check the market, check what others are offering, how they're offering it, and see how you could be a little bit different. So a lot of things, for example, online are all automated. So maybe you want to provide a little bit of personal touch, which adds value than having something that's completely automated online. If you sell a product, well, you have to see, maybe you add your own personal touch to the product. That's called drop shipping. So in China, you can buy products and just put your personal brand to it and sell it that way. So I'm just giving you a little bit of examples right now of what kind of things you could do. But that's the first thing you need to worry about is what do you sell to whom, and is there a market? So the way you would find out if there's a market is to test it. So again, I'm going back to the example of the t-shirt. If you want to sell a blue t-shirt with a slogan on it, well, put it on Facebook and see if you have people even looking at it. If not, it's not worth, producing t-shirts or having anything, having any payments or any costs linked to making this t-shirt when you don't even have needs, out there. So an example, you can check my website, is that I have a partnership with a company where you can actually buy t-shirts with my slogan on it, Pléiade HC. So that gives you an example of how you can work through somebody when you sell a product and there's no cost down at the very beginning, and you can see a little bit if there's some traction, if people buy your product. Again, you don't have to go and actually produce the t-shirt and sell it and have all the different intermediaries and so forth. So there's a lot of ways now where you can have a product at a very cheap cost. Again, it's called drop shipping. You work through another company where you sell your product, and you just see if people are interested. So don't go into a lot of costs from the very beginning, in having an expensive website and building a process and so forth, when you don't even know if there's a lot of traction. So the first thing you need to do, again, my first step is define what you're selling to whom and test it. So test it with a small range of people. It could be even within your surrounding friends and family. They can also tell you what they think about it. So don't worry so much about selling big at the very beginning and to a large community. Sell within a small group. That's what I would advise. So I'm just giving you snapshots here of how you could do it. Again, in a one-to-one session, we could really think about your particular product or service you want to sell and how to test the market. I'm just giving you broad examples. So the first thing is to have a solid idea. Then you need to have a business plan. Again, I'm not one that would build a 20-page business plan as it used to be, because nowadays the market changes very quickly. So you could have all the nice projections that you want in the world. Probably you will find it changes, your orientation will change. So I would do something very, very small. I have a template for a business plan. It's part of my career pack for people who want to test also the entrepreneurship route. And I also have an ebook. I will give you the link to that where you can download. And it's pretty much what I'm saying right now in an ebook, how to build a business in Switzerland. So you have the whole spiel about finding the product, defining what the market is, and testing it. So business plan will help you find those things. What is your market? Who do you want to sell to? So I do a one-pager just to show you how small and how precise I'm putting it down. I'm not one that likes to write a business plan that's so long and that has all these figures and all these projections, because again, I find this is probably something that will change. So having a one-pager is really good because it helps you being very focused on what you want to do. One of the issue when you are an entrepreneur or you start your own freelance activity is to be a little bit dispersed out there. You see people do things, and you're like, oh yeah, I think I want to do this as well. And you think, oh yeah, I want to develop also other things. So you're a little bit spread out and spread thin. So you're not as effective. So having a business plan where you're putting down, really very simple, who are you selling, what are you selling, and to whom? And the price range and your marketing plan. So I have a sign from Juken, thank you, who says that he's liking the live. Thank you. So yeah, basically what you want is to have something very neat and very very clear. It will be almost like your guiding light, where you say, okay, this is where I'm going, this is the objective. And when you see all kinds of things happening around you, you're not dispersed as quickly. So that's my recommendation, write this one-pager or 2 pages maximum that gives you a little bit of where you're going, your method. And I'm still using that right now. I created in 2015. Lately, especially when I want to see where do I want to put the focus, it's really defining, staying very focused on what I do. Who am I selling, to whom, etc., etc. So that's the number one, step by step, is the solid plan and business plan. So number two is solid marketing plan with clients. So that's your step number two on business creation. So you want to have a marketing strategy. So for those of you who are not so much business people, again, you don't need to have a master's or MBA to be an entrepreneur. Some people can be great entrepreneurs. We have examples all around that didn't even finish college. But I find that in my personal experience, again, that's my experience, I find that having method helps me. So there's really different ways you can do a business. You can just feel, you know, it's like, okay, I can sense the market. Some people are very good at that. They know there's a need and they just build a product and they know it's going to work, you know, with the market, and they have experience maybe working with this particular market. But sometimes having something a little bit more firm also helps you stay focused. Because, for example, I'm not someone who could do events a little bit outside of scope. So, for example, it wouldn't make sense for me to do, oh, okay, today I'm going to do a Facebook ad campaign, and oh, next week I'm going to do a Twitter ad campaign or whatever. And it just comes and it's a little bit spread out, and I don't really have a plan on why I'm doing it. And you can spend a lot of money on those things. I mean, adverts online are quite expensive, whether it's Google AdWords or Facebook ads. There's a lot of people that are really specialized in helping you with your marketing strategy and your website, how to position it. And I'm sure they do a good job. I've never really been convinced. So I did my own method, basically. I did my own marketing strategy where I thought I have the control. I'm not depending on somebody else. And also it's cost-free. Well, it costs my time, but it doesn't cost me paying somebody to do it. And my strategy is basically all the things I do online that you see, you know, all the Facebook Live, all the YouTube videos I produce every week. That's a lot of work, but again, it's all my control, and it's content-based. So I'll explain a little bit the different strategies that you can put in place and where mine stands. But basically, there's lots of things you can do out there, but I would definitely recommend having one. You know, having a plan of what it is that you're going to do. So that's for the marketing plan. The third thing is the application for the work permit. So what kind of permit do you need? You know, are you new to Switzerland? Are you abroad, etc., etc. So just in a nutshell, that gives you a little bit where I'm going with this, you know. So start with an idea, have a marketing plan, and then do your paperwork. So number one, really I'm going now more into detail. What is the business creation? So what you want to do is start with an idea, then you plan around your idea, and then you test and adjust. So when you start a business, you will find that probably your product gets modified quite a few times. I mean, maybe you realize the blue t-shirt is not what people want. They want the red t-shirt. Or now they want the black slogan on it and they don't want it in white. So it's details around a product, but you will find that it makes a huge difference. And it's the same with services. You keep tweaking it to find the right positioning, you know, where it's the sweet spot, I call it, where, you know, you get value, you give value and you receive value. Of course, it has to be a give and take. I mean, if you give something and people, for example, a lot of consultants like me, the sweet spot is always finding, you know, what do you give for free and what do people pay for? And you have to find that, because otherwise you're a volunteer. You have a hobby, you know, if you're not making an income. So that's what you have to keep remembering when you have a business, is that you need to have an income. You need to have people pay for your service or your product. If people are not paying, then that means you're not bringing in a value, or they're not convinced of the value, or you know, maybe you need to find a different angle that people find there's value and no one else is doing it, or there's not enough offer on the market. So it's complicated because we live in a place, you know, in the developed countries where there's a lot of things already existing. If you live in a place where it's a development type of country, for example, you know, I just traveled recently in a place where they were building, you know, a lot of real estate, you know, it's booming, it's growing. There's really anything that you can do doesn't exist already, because it's really much wide open for creation. In developed countries, we already have a lot of things created. We already have a lot of services. A lot of things also offered for free nowadays on the web. You know, with artificial intelligence is going to provide a lot of free value. So that's something you have to take into account if you're thinking whether or not you want to create a business right now is to think also about how artificial intelligence is going to affect whatever you want to create. Because if it's something that's too basic, you can be sure, I would say 99% sure, that artificial intelligence will do it better and faster than you. So that's a risk for you as a business owner, that you won't have long-term traction in the end, because there will be some type of digital solution that will do it for free. You know, I'm thinking about things that now are getting are new. So Google, for example, now will offer a whole service of job advertising online and sourcing and so forth. So that's going to change the job of placement agencies, for example, of recruiters. So that's what I mean by looking at if there's long-term potential for your business ideas. Really, I wouldn't look at it separate from technology and what you see going on. So you need to research a little bit around your particular market, what's happening in terms of technology. You know, the legal, for example, field is really affected right now. In the medical field, I just went to events, was not so recent, but I went to an event where they were saying how there's technology now that's able to identify, you know, disease and medical problems really fast, faster than a doctor, a specialist even. So it was in the X-ray community. So you see that those things exist. You know, there's a lot of digital intelligence, digital tools that will be able to identify and resolve problems that specialists used to be paid a lot of money to do. So if you're thinking about the legal and the medical field, a lot of tools right now are analyzing and resolving problems very quickly. So question mark, you know, is it worth building a solution? A lot of business owners right now are using artificial intelligence. A lot of platforms now inserted in their solution. So I think the future is definitely human brain with artificial intelligence. So how do you connect the two to create an offer for customers out there? So that's something to think about. I'm getting a little bit off track maybe of the actual starting a business, but just ideas for you to think about. It's the ideation part of the process that I have in my mind. Then of course you have to plan around it and test it. If you haven't tested it, it's really difficult to say whether it will have a community or attraction from buyers. So that's the most difficult part. That's why I spent some time on it. It's not about registering your business or your taxes, you know. When I get those kind of questions, I know people are really beginners in entrepreneurship, because when you've been an entrepreneur for a while and worked in this fashion for a while, you know that's the least of your issue. I mean, yeah, you have to, you know, think about what kind of plan you want to put in place in terms of the structure, but that becomes secondary. I mean, the first thing is really you need customers and you need to build people. So that's your first worry as an entrepreneur. So so basically, in terms of how do you know if there's traction for you, if there's a customer base for you? Well, the first thing is you need to get feedback. So when you have a product that's out there or service, the first thing you want to do is see what people are saying about it. So if you're not getting a lot of, and that happens, I see that in communities on Facebook where people say, you know, help me, you know, give me some feedback. I have this ad going on and no one is clicking on it. So this is one way to know, you know, what's not working, you know, with your service or your offer, how to tweak it. So you will need a lot of feedback at the beginning when you start. The one-page business plan also to keep you focused. That's something that you will need. So my philosophy, start testing fast at minimal cost. So you don't want to build something that costs you several thousands of dollars, and I'm thinking a website, to realize that, you know, people can find the information on it, or you know, what I observed recently with websites is that they really become secondary. People tend to use social media way more. So now I have a lot of clients that communicate with me essentially on social media, and they don't really want to go to the website. I mean, I do have to refer to it for descriptive and to make the payments and so forth, but I use it more as a last step. But the first thing is that people tend to be focused on your social media. They will want to communicate via Messenger. So in a way, your website now only becomes your the place where, again, you would have maybe the description of your product and the payment options, you know, to put it in your basket and make the payment. And a lot of ads now that you see on Facebook, drives you directly to a page where you make the end payment in the end. You put in your basket and you make the payment. So the website is not really used as a way to advertise or get community engagement and all that. So if you were to put a lot of money towards a website to do something really nice and lots of photos, lots of video, lots of information, probably it's a little bit of a waste. And when I started my website in 2015, again, I built something that's quite nice, I think, in terms of content and how it's built. But now looking at it several years later, I realize, now it wouldn't be something I put so much focus on because, again, people's eyes are on social media. Now people purchase immediately from an ad on Facebook or on other platforms. So really your focus should be more on your social media strategy. How do you get engagement? It's a lot easier also on social media because, you have people that can communicate with you and ask you questions. And that really is easy to change something on social media. As an example, if you're a consultant and you've made a video and you realize you don't have a lot of engagement on your video, well, the next video you do better. Just simple as that. Maybe you do a different topic. Maybe, you choose a different location, or you check if there was some sound problems and bad quality of your video. But you haven't wasted a lot of money is what I'm saying. Whereas if you've invested, several thousands again on a website to put a page together with a developer and you realize no one is visiting it, it's a little bit painful. So again, use social media as a way to test and at a lower cost, basically. I wouldn't focus so much on the how you're going to do something, but more on the what are you doing, and really focus on your customer. And it's something I'm still faced with right now, is who is your ideal customer, not just any customer. Because when we start, and we all make this mistake, is that we say, okay, I want to sell to usually a broad base of individuals, whether it's professionals, managers, maybe people in a specific country. It's always too wide, and we end up, talking to everybody and nobody, and we're not getting the exact type of people that we want. So when you have in your mind the idea of the type of person you want, where they live, their age range, what they like to spend money on, etc., then you get a little bit closer to actually getting those kinds of clients and bringing them the most value, because those are the kind of people who get what you're selling and who are completely on board with you. So for example, in the personal development community, which is where I operate, so to say, the type of people that would be best suited for me are people who want to improve themselves, who want to grow, who want to invest in their career and personal development, because it's linked. So people who are not interested in those things are not going to be ideal customers for me. So that's how you find out who is your perfect client, or people that will be interested in what you have to offer. So that's, in my view, a little bit how you do it at the beginning. Getting this little puppy together is really difficult. Probably most of us don't spend enough time on that when we start, to really get the what are we selling to whom, and define our ideal client, and where this ideal client would be helps you define your strategy on marketing. Because then once you know, again, I'm giving the example of my business to help you have a concrete view of what it's like. If you say, I want to find people interested in personal development, who want to invest in themselves, who want to grow, then there's only a few places where you find those people. In a very large media, probably it's too broad and you will get a little bit of hit and miss. If you go into groups where people are focused on personal development, you have a better chance to find those people there. So that's how you find your marketing strategy. Once you know where your ideal clients like to go to, or the groups that they would be typically joining, then it's easier for you to build marketing that focuses on those kinds of people. So it leads me to my second part of this presentation, is the marketing strategy. So how do you build a marketing strategy? Well, the first thing is really to build something that's aligned with your business strategy. So the example I like to give is the luxury, for example, luxury example. If you're building a product that's a luxury product, you want to sell it with everything that goes around it, meaning you have a nice packaging, maybe you have a small note, personalized note with it, maybe you have, the quality of the paper that wraps the the product, how it's going to be delivered. So if you look at luxury boutiques, for example, typically they have really a lot of decoration around it, and they have nice visuals. If you think about luxury brands in beauty, for example, they will advertise in really fancy magazines. So anyway, there's this whole thing about exclusive products where you would get something that's high value, etc. So if I take the example of products, if you're selling something that's a luxury product, you don't want to put it, in a cheap packaging like a eBay, or I'm just thinking about the mainstream type of things that you would buy online. €5 or €5, you're not expecting to get a nice wrapping packaging and all these things, because you're going for the cheap product. But if you're buying something in a luxury brand, you expect to have a nice maybe box, well wrapped, sealed, etc., etc. So that's what I mean, that you have to be careful of when you build your marketing. So build marketing that's in sync with the product that you're selling. The second thing is you have to regularly review your marketing strategy. It does change. People do evolve. Maybe you have newcomers on the market as well who are doing the same thing. Maybe their pricing is a little bit different. So you have to be ready that your business is something that's always has to be reviewed and changed and edited. And also number 3 is you have to be prepared to make some upfront investment. So that's where it usually hurts a little bit as an entrepreneur, is that you can get money without investing money. So there's no such thing. So at the beginning, you only have costs. That's why you don't really make money the first couple of years, because you have to build your website, you have to do your advertising. To get clients, you need to pay basically in one form or another. Again, my strategy is more on content creation, but that takes time, so it's money in a way, because time is money. So there's no such thing as being able to build a customer base with no costs. Even when people tell you, you build your your sign-up programs, for example, online, well, people nowadays are not going to give their email so easily to get a product sample, and they're not going to buy immediately just because they get your newsletter. That's, of course, that's cheap, it costs you nothing, but it's not going to be very engaging in terms of getting clients or getting trust, especially if you're in a field where trust is important and building the rapport is important. Again, I'm thinking coaching or consulting, where you're really buying the person in the end. So you can't really do that easily with newsletters. That works better for eBay, again, products, the cheap $5 iPhone case. Then yeah, you can do some mass mailing emails. Maybe it works. After a while, people say, yeah, I get a new case for my iPhone. But if you're a consultant and you sell high value products or services, you need to have this one-to-one rapport. People need to trust you, etc., etc. So that's how I would build my marketing strategies, based on what you're selling. So you go for the cheap products on eBay, maybe it's a different strategy than if you sell a coaching or consulting services. For marketing strategy, is there any question before I move to my finding clients portion of the presentation? So one of the hard things when you're selling your services is to find clients. So there's lots of different offers out there from entrepreneurs themselves who give you methods on how to get clients. Usually they include, following some type of a strategy that they've built, and they say, okay, if you do these steps, you will get clients, you will make lots of money. I'm always a little bit doubtful when I see people saying you're going to make, $1 million or 6 figures. When I see 6 figures, I'm a bit doubtful, especially depending on what you sell. I mean, if you're going into the real estate market, maybe the 6-figure would seem like it makes sense for me. If you're selling houses, for example, maybe if you're very good at what you do and you have a good strategy, you can make 6 figures. Or maybe financial services, trading, all these things, you can make those kinds of money. But if you're selling, $5 cases, iPhone cases on the platform, you have to explain to me how you make several millions. I mean, even with good ads, I just find it a little bit tough to believe. I mean, yeah, making several thousands, I'm a little bit more inclined to say, okay, I get it. You do a little bit of Facebook ads and you get a lot of visits, but even then you're competing with all the other If you're selling iPhone cases, you have 20 websites that sell iPhone cases, and then it's whoever's doing the cheaper. So, and I know those big platforms are doing a lot of advertising. They're spending a lot of money to be on page 1 of Google. So yes, you can probably, if you're really big, if you're Amazon, if you're eBay, you can probably make millions out of small products because you're doing so much advertising. But for someone who's a solopreneur or beginner who has their website, I just have a hard time believing it. So that's why you have to be careful. Don't go and rush into buying those easy, quick, getting rich type of methods, because they will probably make you feel like it's delusional. And you'll be very frustrated that you didn't make your million after 2 weeks. So there's no such way as hitting fast, success very fast. You have to really take it one step at a time. Again, build your strategy, build your product, being really focused on what it is that you do, looking at what your customer is saying, even if it's painful sometimes, but it helps you get better. And really pinpointing, you know, what is it that people want, and go at it every day, research it, you know, change it again. So engagement is really what's going to get you going. I mean, when you look at people who are doing very good, and I like to use the example out there, there's this YouTuber, Gary V, who's really good with social media, and he gets a lot of traction. So when you see his videos, you think, wow, you know, he's getting millions of followers and he's very good. And you can just leave it there and say, wow, you know, I want to get to that level and maybe I need to do something more. But in the end, when you look at Gary V, he started a long time ago. We're talking about decades ago, not just a couple of years, decades. I mean, I think it's over 10 years now that he's been doing this. So, and same thing when I look at YouTubers who have a big following, they started, you know, 10 years ago, same thing. So there's no such thing as easy fix, you know. You have to be at it every day. You know, it's like sports. If you want to become an athlete, you have to go get up in the morning, do your same repetition of exercises every day and health, fitness, to get to be an athlete. So it's the same with entrepreneur. You know, every day you repeat the same things. You do your videos. If you're a YouTuber, you apply your marketing strategy very constantly, month after month, year after year. And then, you know, you see some results. I see some results now in my business. You know, I started in 2015. I started my YouTube channel, I believe, 2 years ago. So I see already there's a big difference and there's improvement. But again, 2 years is nothing compared to some people who've been doing it 10 years. So you always improve, you always learn. You see what other people that are doing very good, what kind of methods they're applying, and you try to get some advice basically, or try to copy a little bit, you know, not copying exactly what they do, but get information from them, get influence from them. So that's why if you want to go starting your business or being an entrepreneur, it's for the long route. So if you're not willing to go at it for the long road, if you're looking, for example, to have results quickly, if you say, okay, my goal, my objective, and that's what I do with individuals when we talk about your career. If you say, okay, I want to have a house, I want to have some money in my pocket because I'm sick of making low wages, you know, and I want to make some money, I would probably say, you know, get a job, you know, at least at the beginning, and maybe you start something as a side gig at the beginning. But I wouldn't recommend to go into entrepreneurship because your pockets will be empty for a while at the beginning, and if you don't have enough resources to help you get going during this, I would say, harsh period of your adventure, you will be discouraged. So you need that. For me, it's a beginning. It's the first step I ask people is, how much can you afford to be without a job or not have any income? If you have a lot of need for resources because you're in a phase of your life when you're, you know, you have expenses, I would say, especially I would say after you're a student, you know, when you start actually entering the workforce is usually when you need money to, you know, get your first rent paid and, you know, all the expenses that come with it. So really, that's the time when it's going to be difficult. But if you're a student, or if you were able to put at least enough aside that you can get started, it's a good idea. Or again, you can do it where you work and you start on the side so that you're not taking any risks. So always, measure, what is the risk, again, very few people are able to sustain themselves fully based on their business. Most people have either side gigs or they do other things on, they work on different projects. But there's very, very few people that can actually develop something from beginning to end and grow and start, seeing evolution in their business. What is called actually in the jargon, to start deploying and scaling is the term that's used in the startup world. Very few people get there because you have to get the base right, and that's where a lot of people struggle. Having the right concept, have the right marketing strategy, the right team, especially if you want to go big, you will need a team. So if you don't have all these things, the chances again are really low. So you have to keep that in mind when you get started. So now moving straight into finding clients, if you're building your marketing strategy, how do you find clients? There's really two types of strategies out there. There's push or pull. So I'm giving you the basics, marketing 101 here. So push is really what advertisers have been doing for many years. If you look at commercials that were used on TV, then I'm giving you a little bit of background here. We're talking about up until the 21st century, most of the advertising was done via giving you information on your TV and newspapers and, basically making you want to purchase the product by just pushing ads to your face, buy this product, it's great, it has great features, etc. Nowadays, it's a little bit different. People are not necessarily reacting so well to that push advertising where, they get a lot of materials, sent to them and ads online, because now it's no longer so much on the printed materials, but it's mostly online, on social media. Hey, buy this product, it's great, it will save you time, or it's cheap, or whatever. So, there's still, to some extent, if you happen to see an ad and you need this product, which happens to me, then probably you buy it. But for those people who don't really need it, is it really efficient? Unless you're a big, big platform and you can afford to have those ads running, for most people, it's not really a good idea if you're an entrepreneur to spend money on pushing ads, in my view. But that's still a strategy. The other strategy is the pull marketing, which is really about getting people to integrate with your brand, to be interested in what you do. So it's catching interest in what you do. And that doesn't really need purchasing. It doesn't mean people will purchase from you. It just means they're interested in what you do. So there's a lot of people, for example, that do this whole content-based type of attraction. So they're building a lot of books. They're writing a lot of books. They're doing a lot of videos. I know in my profession, for example, in coaching, you have coaches that publish videos almost every day. They're doing a lot of seminars. They're communicating a lot all the time, seminars, ebooks. So that's a way to show your strength, your qualities, how you work with individuals. And then people get really interested in what you do, and they see how you speak, how you go about problem solving, etc. So it's a great way in my profession, for example, to get some interest. So really the pull is all about the attraction based on what you do and how much value you can bring to the world. So there's this dimension of, bringing a lot of value and having really a mission. I think this is a word you will see in people that are consulting or coaching based. They will talk about a mission. So it's not just about, selling a product or service as a transaction. It's more about they have a vision of what they want the world to be like. So they're really driven by giving information. For example, a lot of people are talking about improving yourself, developing your skills, in my view. Some other people might be helping you eating better, exercising to be fitter and less sick, etc. So that's your mission. That's why you start this job, is to really say, I want people to eat better so they're healthier. I want people to feel good about themselves. So many people now are just demotivated. I know I worked in human resources many years in companies. People are really not valued, demotivated, used up. So I've observed all that for many years, the pain almost of working sometimes in a big corporation. So, your mission is really, could be, I want to make sure that people use their skills they were given to do the proper job, you know, and also understand the context so that they can be successful. So that's my mission, for example, but then other consultants might have other missions. But that will help you on your content-based strategies to keep this focus and this mission, because then you're not just talking to do a sale or to get a customer. You're really bringing, you're an influencer. You're bringing something to the world. You know, when people listen to you, they feel engaged, they feel motivated. They say, wow, there's some light at the end of the tunnel. You know, it's not all about working and paying taxes, but it's also about working to improve your skills, to learn some new things. You know, for me, it's always about being a better, more well-rounded individuals. That's why you also study. It's to be more, to have more knowledge about something, and to try also to bring more happiness all around you in the workspace. So both techniques, whether you decide to do ads, which could be a way to do it, or you want to do this whole content, which takes a lot of time and it's not always easy to do. It's also harder to do if you have a product. You know, if you sell t-shirts, you know, what kind of content base can you do? The mission there is a little bit harder to do. So I think it really depends on what you're selling. Again, whether you're going to go content based or more ads, or also how much time you have to do this thing. You know, some people don't have a lot of time to do content, so they're doing more ads. But you have to understand that both methods will have the pluses and minuses. So ideally, you should be doing a little bit of both, meaning that at some point, maybe you do ads and see also how it's going. And at some point, maybe you do an ebook or something like that. So really try to see, you know, what works. Again, is by testing. You see where you get your customers from, you know, what are people engaging with, what kind of content. And ideally, you do both. So the pluses and minuses, just to give you a little bit of a snapshot. If you do ads, one of the big pluses is that you can probably get a lot of clicks. That's why a lot of people do Google AdWords. You get a lot of visitors on your website. So there's this massive potential of massive visits to what you do. It just brings you more visitors, more traction, etc. The negative part is the expense. Obviously, having ads running is very costly, especially on Facebook. I had ads on Facebook. It can go quickly. I mean, you think, yeah, at the beginning, you just want to try, maybe put a few 10, 20 francs, 100 francs even, but it goes quick. If you want to get visitors to your website, it goes very quickly, and the funding will need to be substantial if you want to have results. So that's one of the negatives with advertising the traditional way. Now with content-based, I find one of the big plus that I find with content-based is the fact that you attract the type of people that you want. So people that will resonate with your material, you know, that will be engaged with it. If you do more the traditional ads, you're targeting mostly a lot of people. If you do the content-based, you tend to build a community around what you do. People engage with your style, etc. So you get more the type of customer that you want. But again, the negative part is that it will be very slow to build a business on content only, because again, the visibility will be limited. For example, if I do this video on Facebook and I'm not putting any kind of boosting to it, it's probably going to be seen by people who follow me. Then I put it on YouTube. I'll have also my YouTube visitors, but it won't be seen bigger than that unless people start sharing it massively. So the investment you do with boosting your videos or your content, again, more the traditional advertising, really helps in terms of getting more visitors, etc. So that's just to give you a little bit the pluses and minuses. Again, if I take the example of my business, I'm doing more the content based, but if I were to do a consultation with someone who wants to start their own business, we would have to see maybe for a product that you're selling, and I'm thinking about the question I had on how to penetrate a market with a cheap product. Probably you do need to invest in some form of advertising, because how do you get seen amongst all the other products on eBay and Amazon? So at some point you need to push it up a little bit, giving a booster so that your product gets seen first. And most people, again, not everyone, they will go with what they see first. If they see the product they want and it's on page 1 and it's advertised, they click on it, it has all the features they want, yeah, they probably just buy it. Now you have the harder customers that will compare and see if they can find cheaper, etc. But it's, if you don't have time, which most people don't nowadays, they will go with what they see first. And if it fits, if it's the proper price, they will purchase. So that's for the finding clients. Now I'm moving more into the part that people tend to look at as the first thing, but I put it as last on my presentation, is how to register your business, which is something that makes a lot of people nervous. Where do I register? How do I do it? Do I have the proper paperwork? Just in general, and again, I haven't worked in every country in my life, but I'm mostly, I would say, within France and Switzerland. There's always a period, I would say, at the beginning where the authorities are quite relaxed when you start a business. So no one is going to knock on your door, if you sold 2 t-shirts on Facebook and say, you owe us taxes. I think there's this period where people understand, and the authorities understand, that you need to work on your project, you need to test your market. So unless you make thousands of Swiss francs or euros or what have you, you don't have to worry so much about being registered and all that. Also, the other reason why I'm putting it last is because you don't really know at the beginning which way your business is going. So again, the example of a t-shirt, maybe you realize you need to partner with someone that has more experience than you, and then it becomes more of a 2-people business rather than a solo entrepreneurship. So you have to test to see. I mean, maybe you meet people and you say, hey, well, don't we do something together and connect together and do something as a group of people? And that could happen within the first 6 months when you test your product, when you go to forums and fairs and you meet people. I know I've done that at the very beginning. I went to fairs and I had my booth with my card and so forth. I was just testing my market to see, what people want and how it works, etc. You don't need to be registered. I wasn't registered anywhere. What I did is that I was under a specific type of form, which it's basically almost like an accounting firm. And what they do is, if you were to make money, they just give you like a salary, basically. But if you're not making any money, which usually in the first 6 months or a year you don't, it's really just there to reassure you that you are, to some extent, registered. So you're not really registered. You just have access to this type of format where basically you don't have to pay. So I will talk about that in a minute. So registering a business in Switzerland, you have 3 ways basically. So you have the individual entrepreneurship. So that's usually good for the freelancer. You have the SARL, which is usually for people who, same thing, they want to start small, but there are several people usually. And then you have the SA, Société Anonyme, which is really for people who need to have this either for image issues or legal issues, or because they want to just have this credibility from the beginning. And the other method I just talked about is called portage salarial. So it's the portal agency. It's a little bit like an accounting firm, and you just say, hey, do you want to take me in? I'm, let's say, a consultant and what have you. I don't really know what my market is. I need to test it. I don't really know what type of form I need at this stage. And they just, take you on. And let's say if you were to have a client and this client is willing to pay you, let's say 20,000 Swiss franc, you just report it to them. They give you like a salary format, a pay slip. They worry about paying taxes and so forth. So all you have to do is just give them your income. So it's very simple. There's no risk. And you're not really an entrepreneur at that stage. You're more of an employee because you're under an umbrella of a portage, basically. So that's what I would advise to people who are not sure of what format and they still need to test and they don't want to worry about it. Just go for a portal agency. Then you still get your pay slip. You continue providing to unemployment and retirement and all that, and you don't have to worry about building a company or building a form, especially at the beginning. So so yeah, that's my recommendation. So the portal, in my view, is the solution for most people that are starting. Now, if you're saying, because of course there's a cost for that, they take a portion of your income. So if you say, yeah, but they're going to take a portion of my income and I'm not willing to give that out, even if it's the easy solution. So let me just see what else is out there. So of course the freelancer, is also the way to go if you plan to have your own business on your own. You don't want to have any other partners or providers, etc. That's also a good way. So So that's the second thing is being a solopreneur. Then the other two, the SA and the SARL, they basically require a little bit more. They require you to have some money aside, placed in a bank account. You have to do a business plan. You have to see a notary. You have to get registered at the business, the registry. So it's a little bit more of an investment. Now, the other problem, well, it's not really a problem, but the other issue with starting an SARL or an SA company format is that you will have immediately responsibilities in terms of your reporting, having to pay already, whether you make money or not, and also you will have to have an accountant that you need to pay to do your taxes and so forth. So it's already a lot of costings at the beginning, in my view. Now, if you've already tested your market, you know you're making some money, and you want to formalize things and get, I would say, get proper, I would say, with the authorities, you know, that's good to do it then. So anyways, the authorities will probably reject you if you come and you say, yeah, you know, I think I want to put an ebook online and start selling it. They will say, okay, come and see us in 6 months when you start making some income. So it's really a waste anyways. So what you want to do is have clients. That's the first thing you need to do, is have clients, get some traction, and then you see what kind of thing you need to do. So don't worry about registration at the very beginning. Now, if you start making regular income, you have regular clients, maybe after 2, 3 months, 6 months, and I'm being generous here, because for most people it's even sometimes after a year. If you start having regular income and clients, then you go to the authorities and say, okay, I want to get registered. You know, I've made a few thousands of Swiss francs. Okay, no problem. You know, no one is going to run after you for that. And now I want to get registered. I know what I want. I want to be a solopreneur. I want to start a company because I found a business partner whilst I was going to the fairs, or I want to start a bigger company, for example, if you're in financial services. Now, talking about financial services, sometimes there are situations where you have to create a form of a company before you can operate. And that's the example more financial services. If you want to be a recruiter, if you want to have your own placement agencies, you also have to formalize things early on. So there's legal aspects to it. You know, I'm not saying everybody should start with no structure, because again, certain fields and businesses will require it. But if I talk, and I'm more on the modern solopreneur, build your business online, you know, have a website and all these things. Those things don't necessarily require a lot of formalization at the beginning, even in Switzerland. So again, I'm giving the example of someone who wants to have a website and start selling some books or t-shirts or something like that. You know, by the time you really start making some income, you know, it's going to take a while. So you don't really have to worry about registering anywhere. But now when you start really having traction and regular clients, you should probably say, okay, now I have my website, it's running well, I have regular clients, and then they will register you, you pay the fees, you show that you have the proper paperwork in place, and then, you know, you can get started. Also, if you're a foreigner, you need a work permit, and you can't get a work permit if you have no traction. So if you're new, let's say I just put my suitcase down in Switzerland, I've arrived yesterday, and I go and say I want to register as an SARL, people are going to say not possible. You're too much of a new entity. We don't know anything about you. So you need to build up your case as well, and your reputation, to show that you've been around and you can be trusted, and you already have partners and contacts, and you have something going for yourself. So that's what authorities will look at anyway. So don't rush into it. Be prepared. Otherwise, you're just wasting first your time to go to all these different offices, and also usually costs money when you register somewhere. So it's a little bit of a waste. Also, what I would test with people in private consultations is whether Switzerland is the proper place for them to register. If you're selling a product internationally, and because of your nationality and all these things, it's not very easy to start a business in Switzerland. And maybe we can look at, you know, how you could do it in another way, so you're not wasting time trying to get this registration in Switzerland. So there's lots of things, again, to look at, a lot of parameters. Again, my message, because I'm getting towards the end of my hour with you here, my message would be really think about what it is that you want to sell. Where is your market? Is it in Switzerland? Maybe it's not. Where's your market? And that takes a while, and you will have to go out there and just see for yourself. You know, when you go to the fairs and you register to events and all that. That's where you will see who is interested in you. And that will help you also answer all these questions of where I need to register and all that, because it's really abstract when you get started. You know, you don't really know who is going to be interested in your product or service. You don't really know where your market is at the very beginning. Usually it's based on your network. That's how professionals will advise you. They will say, where's your network? But maybe you've worked in a country your whole life, your network is there, but that's not where you want to build your product and your business. So then you're starting from scratch somewhere else and you need to rebuild this network somewhere else, which is possible. I mean, maybe you have a great network possibility in the US, for example. US tends to be a good country to do business because people are open and dynamic, and maybe you have a great product for the US. So maybe you've worked your entire life in Africa or in Asia. You want to go to the US, you have no network. So you need to put in place a strategy to develop there quickly. Or maybe Switzerland, but it's going to take time at the beginning to build this. The business development part is going to be huge at the beginning. That's why I say don't worry so much about the administration at the beginning. Worry about the business development. That's where your energy should be. You know, go to these events, go to these fairs, meet people, get contracts signed and all that. And then when you start seeing a little bit more where it's going, which country, which people, etc., then you can see, okay, I want to be registered here or there. It makes more sense. So keep it basically very basic at the beginning, and once you start seeing a little bit more where it's going, that's the time when you can formalize it a bit more, because it's harder to change then, especially if you went a certain way, then to actually change it. It's always possible. But there's credibility issues. You know, if people start seeing you in a different kind of company, then they will say, well, what is this person doing? So, you know, in my view, I've always said since the day when I started that it's a one-way ticket. I know I'm being hard on myself, but I always wanted to see it as a one-way ticket, meaning I have to get this puppy down to work. So if you tell yourself this, you know, obviously you tend to be a little bit more focused, whereas if you start looking a little bit more too broad or giving yourself too many options to go outside of it. It's a little bit like marriage. I like to make comparisons with relationships sometimes, but if you give yourself from the beginning too many options, you're not focused, probably you're not in it 110%. So I wouldn't even have the option of something else from the beginning. So that's what I would say to close this presentation. My ebook gives you a little bit of figures as well, so that's why I'll put the link. I didn't get into numbers, but usually people like to have a little bit of a number idea, like how much percentage of taxes is it in Switzerland? How much do you need to have on an account when you open a company? All this is in my ebook, in the chapter on business creation registration. So you're welcome to download it. That will give you all the answers you're looking for. If you want to work more one-to-one after this presentation, because you have actually a concrete idea you'd like to launch, to build to success, feel free to leave a message on my messenger or here under the video, and I will contact you. Again, I hope all this information helps you understand a little bit more what it's about, what business creation is about. My philosophy is that I'm very, very transparent and direct. So I don't like to sugarcoat something. Again, I don't like to make something also dreadful, but I'm very realistic. So I won't tell people what they want to hear. I give them the truth of what I know about business creation, what I've observed, as challenges and also as opportunities, but I don't like to sugarcoat things, because again, when I see all these people who are saying, yeah, become a millionaire, 6 figures, etc., I just think it's a lie. And you can really get people in trouble, you know, if they leave a job to start a business and they see it's not like that. That's just morally, or I would say ethically, it's just not very good. It's not a very good idea. So again, I hope you have a great afternoon. Happy to have spent this hour with you here on Facebook, on live. And again, if you have questions, if you want to know more about business creation, download my ebook, send me a message, and we can take it from there. I will talk to you next month on live Facebook. Thanks.